Good evening, director, staff, and members of the public joining us in person and those watching online. I will now call this October 30th regular business meeting of the Twin Cities German Immersion School Board to order. Let us reflect on our mission, vision, and values. The mission of the Twin Cities German Immersion School is the innovative education of the whole child through German immersion. Our vision is andere hören, andere sehen, weltoffen denken und handeln, educating multilingual world citizens who hear others, see others, and think and act with an open mind. And our values are curiosity, kindness, challenge and support, intercultural engagement, and community. We acknowledge and appreciate that TCJS is located on Whakapute, Dakota traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homeland near Lake Metawaska, the land now known as Minnesota Mikoche. Our presence here is linked to generations of Whakapute stewardship over their land, as well as to the historical and ongoing injustices of settler colonization that impact indigenous people to the present day. We are committed to understanding our role in this legacy and to educating ourselves and our community about indigenous history through continued mindfulness and engagement in and outside the classroom. For Gilhoff, will you please call the roll for the record?
Director Albers.
Absent.
Director Holter-Enkel.
Here.
Director Larson.
Here.
Director Lindner.
Here.
Director Ottoman.
Here.
Director Sutton.
Here.
Director Tesfayesos. Absent. Director Van der Bosch.
Here.
Director Yamanyab.
Absent, excused. So is Director Albers. So that's 6.
Yeah,
Okay, we have a quorum. You missed one.
Oh my God. Yeah, sorry, that's down there. Director ex officio Elizabeth Tinfanish. Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. First order of business is to approve September's meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve September meeting minutes?
Move.
Thank you, Director Enkel. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Ottoman. Is there any discussion about September's meeting minutes? Any additions, any corrections we need to do?
No, I didn't find any.
Hearing none, minutes are approved. The second is we need to approve our minutes from the October special board meeting on October 18th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Larson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Sutton. Do we have any discussion on our October 18th special board meeting minutes? Any additions, any corrections? Okay, hearing none, minutes are approved. Next order of business is to approve tonight's meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Van der Bosch. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Enkel. Is there any discussion? Do we need to change anything, add anything?
Just have a question about the governance and leadership since Director Albers isn't here. Director Lindner, are you prepared to take
Yes.
that part?
That's either myself or Director Larson. We'll take the part. All right. Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving tonight's meeting agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay. Meeting agenda is approved. Moving right along. We did not have any letters to the board. We did not have any responses or open forum questions that are available. Do we have anybody signed up for our open forum? Nope, okay. Just checking. All right, hearing there is no request for public comment. Public comment is now closed. All right, with that, we would like to move into our special recognitions. For Gilhoff, can you please share? And Director Sutton, can you take the first one? Once it comes up.
Sure.
And Director Otterman, can you take the second one? And then Director Vanderbosch, the third.
Sure.
Thank you.
For some reason, it won't let me share. I'm
Dance school.
Oh, you went to the dance school.
But they were excited you getting snacks.
I am having technical difficulties. My mouse has disappeared. There's
It's in the other.
there's the mouse. Okay. I have technical difficulties. It won't let me share. Yeah. The mouse keeps disappearing for some reason.
I hate that. I think it's, I think,
Okay.
is that too long?
Nice to have another staff member familiar with the tools.
Oh, I see. I had it from here. But now it's not moving up here, there is it.
Yeah, you need to go to this computer.
Oh. Yes, gotcha. And is this one not in height?
It always lets me share, so I don't know what's going
Oh, that's your whole desktop.
on. Yeah.
Supplies.
Mm. Right. Where's the window that you want shared?
This one.
Okay, that main one?
Yeah.
There, now if we,
If we now freigeben, then it should work.
yeah, no, we,
This one.
and I lost it.
Oh,
You see what I mean? Oh,
yeah.
wait. Someone can see it.
The
I see
wrong
it,
side.
okay. Not gonna lose it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Esther, for helping out. As it is tradition and a favor of us all, we'd like to recognize special people who went above and beyond in the call of duty for the school to provide extra and really good experience for our students. We have 3 honors or special recognitions that we would like to do in this board meeting. Director Sutton, would you please?
Sure. Yeah, we'll begin with the Gap Exchange team. I come up with both Claudia Muller, Elizabeth Zanfenig, and Esther Knight. So thanks you all for all the hard work to make that happen.
Claudia, most.
And as a chaperone, I can attest to Claudia Miller's hard work to get everything organized and done and running smooth, at least to my knowledge. It's definitely takes more than a village to make that Gap Exchange work. So thank you to all the people involved on the admin side to make this work.
We've really tried to build her up. This is her second time doing it. because it's just a lot for admin to do, and I think that our plan is working. But I will say Esther does a ton of work to match these kids.
Not Match.com, but we do our
Not
best.
Match.com.
Exceptional job.
Next slide.
Next, we'd like to recognize the exchange students' host families. There were 38th grade families that hosted an exchange student from Germany. That's amazing. I'd like to thank them for allowing the students into their homes, and give special thanks to Nick Ludwig, who hosted 3 exchange students. The family of Dice, Niece, and Warren for hosting an exchange student, even though they currently don't have an 8th grader. So that's an amazing way to step up. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah. As we have 2 board members who also hosted an exchange student, it is definitely an experience, and at least for our exchange student, I think he had a really good time being here and was part of the family. So I know it's a step to welcome a foreign child into your house, not knowing what to expect, but thank you to all the families that participate and open their homes to students from Germany so they can experience Minnesota nice. Next slide.
Okay, lastly, we'd really like to thank the PTO. Thank you for organizing the auction, science kits, numerous fundraisers. I know I ordered some strudel, and I hope everyone else did too. And the numerous ongoing fundraisers right now. In particular, we'd like to thank Erin, Hollum, Courtney, Candace, and Ivanka for their contributions, and especially also their continued willingness to step up and try to recruit new members to the PTO, and just continuing to give back to our school community. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is the director's report. Director Tim-Pfennig.
Thanks. You can move to the next slide, Frau Gilhoff. Right out the gate, we'll start with some key performance indicators from, I think this, maybe we should say August, now that I see that. From the August report, we're always 2 months behind. We had 82 days cash on hand. This is still enrollment from the very beginning, so we're at 545. We don't have an average daily membership just yet. We originally budgeted at 550, but we are working with 545 right now. And the finance committee will start to look at that working budget, and we'll get close to making a commitment to that. The DSCR is right where it needs to be. And at the end of the fiscal year 25, the fund balance, we had a budget net income of 80,000. Next slide, please. We've been busy in October. We've been to the HRA and the St. Paul City Council to have them vote on our rebonding. Both councils voted 4-1 in favor of Twin Cities German Immersion School proceeding with their rebonding. The rebonding paperwork is almost complete. There's been a ton of work to bring to this team of, I think, at least 15 people that are working to pass this work. As a result of the rebonding, we needed to move the audit up, which we approved at the 18th meeting. And that audit came up clean and has been approved by the board. They didn't have any findings, is how they stated. Our enrollment has settled. We're pretty much at 545, so that next step will be working on the working budget. I did close the line of credit that we had with the bank formerly known as Bremer, which is now Old National. Through the rebonding process, we learned that that line of credit was going to work against us for cash on hand, that it was going to take us below covenant on that. So we closed it within 24 hours of that message. and we will start to look for a different line of credit. And one of our rebonder, Nick Hagan from Piper, is going to help us with that. So we had good intentions. The reasons that we wanted that line of credit still exist. That was just not the product that was for us. And Bremer changed to Old National Bank, by the way. So we had some staffing influx throughout the first, I would say, 5 weeks, especially in the special ed department. We started the year not fully staffed for special education, and we currently are fully staffed with one exception in special education. So that's great. Jason Bonfrey is our elementary Phi Ed teacher, and he also teaches 7th and 8th grade. And he was hired very late in the game in August. So I think that's why he didn't make it in the last meeting. He's doing a great job. Eliza Coates also doing a great job. She took over the spot where Suzanne Hall, who retired, left. Callie Orlova is returning to TCGIS. She was an EA a couple years ago, has a graduate from TCGIS, and she is returning to be a special ed teacher. Mary Snow is a new special ed teacher. We have a bunch of EAs. We have Arlette, Lisa, Haran, Abdul, Ismail, and I think there's even a couple new that we've added this week. What is happening is we are phasing out of needing to contract with Zen Educate for our EAs, and we are moving into TCGIS employees. So all of these are replacing contracted EAs. So that's great. We did lose Angelina Gasparov. We had hired her to be our social worker. She was right out of the gates of college. This was one of her first big social work gigs. And she just decided that she didn't have what she considered to be the proper training for it. Social work is different. You can get a social work degree and you can get a school social work degree, and there's extra steps. So she knew that she was going back to school to do that. She still is. Her goals are to come back. Her goals are to go back out, learn a little bit more, and come back. And I told her that the door is always open. Yeah,
Great.
question for sure.
Moving from a contractor to in-house EAs.
Yes.
Is that savings for us?
It's not, because all of their staffs, all of their salaries are in that sped side of our budget, which we get 95% reimbursement for. The contractor fee that we pay is actually a little higher, so it's real negligible, real small.
Is there a different benefit to having these individuals be directly employed?
Yeah, there is definitely another benefit. When we have EAs, we can provide them things like email, keys to the building. They can, have our tech devices and are able to better help our kids with Chromebooks and things like that. So those are huge. The communication piece becomes a lot easier. Things that we are disseminating to the whole community, our EAs are getting as well. And so there's just a lot of lack of communication mishaps. The Zen Educate EAs, they could have stopped any day. They could have been sent to a different school. They could have just not shown up. For whatever reason, we had a couple of really good, consistent ones who enjoyed being in our school. And so that worked out, but there was always that risk. And so these are our employees. They're, what is the term that we use for our employees? At-will employees, like the rest of us. But yeah, huge benefits.
Yeah, they sound more integrated.
Yeah, we also are responsible then for the training of the EAs. The Zen Educate ones came to us, trained. We were always sort of briefed on what their training was, but we weren't 100% sure what their training was. And MDE now requires us to have highly qualified educational assistants. And we were assured that they were, but also we would have been on the line if they weren't. So this is just much easier. Huge kudos to Katie Gogo, who is our new assistant sped director. She has like this weird well of people that she keeps pulling from. Every single one of those people, except for Callie, I take credit for that one, are from Katie's like reservoir of people. So thanks, Katie. Tom was a great guy that started in the lunchroom and then just realized that school was not for him. So we sent him on his way and thanked him for his time. He was very sweet. And then exciting news, I guess this is an update though. Daisy did move to a permanent sub position for Spanish, but we actually hired a new Spanish teacher today. So spoiler alert,
Oh.
you're going to see in October a new Spanish teacher. You might remember the couple that was coming from Ecuador who called and said that they would not be joining us. This is still filling that position. So it took a while, but we found a great candidate and she will be joining us. I think her name is Jalissa.
And Daisy's still with Kinder.
Daisy's still with Kinder Club.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, she was not too hard to convince to stick around as a teacher. I'm not sure that she won't be disappointed. Keep going, Katrin. Okay. Here's our enrollment numbers. We keep staying at 545 despite losing a few here and gaining a few. I feel like every time we lose one, we gain one. Every time we gain one, we lose one. So the great news is we're still at 545. Have we had movement? Yeah, we have. We had a family move back to Germany. We, there's always things like that happening, and we have gained a couple. This is exciting news. I found the Minnesota Department of Education cybersecurity grant somewhere on the MAX information and read through it. And I didn't really know exactly what they meant by cybersecurity, but looked up the statute, and the statute that cybersecurity fits under also contains all of the regular school safety stuff and school security stuff. So the grant was not just for cybersecurity devices or insurance, but it was also for anything that would make the school more secure. So I filled out this grant. We received $15,000. With that, we were able to pay our $1,000 deductible for cybersecurity insurance, install a 360 camera. So it's like the fisheye ones. You can see the whole kind of panoramic view. There's a large screen in the front office now. It's about yay big, that has different views on it. And so the front office staff, when they're letting people in, can really actually see who the person is that they're letting in and can interact just a little bit easier. And then they also have eyes on like the buses. When the buses show up, they know when the buses are there. So that's been great. We had Austin, our tech guy, install 6 new other 360 cameras. So we have a little bit better vision on things like the atrium, couple of hallways. We're keeping an eye on this particular area right here out by the gym is always a little precarious. So now we've got eyes on it. So we're pretty excited to be upping that security. Wait till the students find out that they exist.
So the net,
They're gonna be thrilled. Yeah.
the E-rate upgrades we did over last summer now paying dividends.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we were prepared
now we
to
have
add
the-
those cameras.
correct.
Well, that is great that you found that and applied and that the school got approved for it. So
Yeah.
good work.
I love free money. Yeah, it was the greatest. It was a little bit of yeah. We also have a Google Drive backup. That was a situation. We had a really unfortunate situation where the 3rd grade team this year had lost their curriculum. We moved stuff over to like a shared drive, and through that process, somebody hit the wrong button and it just all went. And so Austin and I talked about how that can never happen again. And so this Google Drive backup is protection against that, so that we will never have teachers experience such a loss. Marketing and recruitment, we are in that enrollment season, planning kind of for the duration, looking at things like the open house, which will happen again in January. Still giving some tours. We did one today. And then super exciting advertising change. Katrin, next slide, please. Oh my goodness, we have a billboard. If you haven't seen it yet, it is located on the next slide, shows you where it is. There it is, on the intersection of Lexington and University. We had a variety of places that we could choose from. We chose this spot because of the close proximity to Central and to our school, Metro Transit, and it was available. It was not as expensive as we thought. It was about a $3,000 purchase. and it's up for an entire month. So we chose this month to put it, since this is kind of the high season of enrollment. Great job to Paige. Paige designed the billboard. It's
They look
very
very
pretty.
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, she does a great job. All right, moving on to our mission. Some German immersion and academic excellence is going on. We've got a lot of PD. This is that time of the year. We were settled in and we're thinking about what professional development we need for this year, for the next year. Esther and I are going to Minnesota Council of Teachers of Languages and Cultures this November. I was asked to speak. I have to probably put that together. They want to know about why our community is so great. And so I'm going to talk about how we've built community here. And then Esther's going to go to brush up on some PD. Yeah, it's a really great day. Frau Gilhoff and Frau Azo now is the administrator formerly known as Frau Maslovsky. If you saw her wedding picture in the run brief, Nina got married. And so now she's Frau Azo. So if you go to the front office, it's from A to Z. She and Katrin are going to ACTFL, which is the American Council of Teachers of Foreign Languages. So there's a Minnesota branch, a Central States branch, which is the middle of the country, and then a national branch. And so that's the biggest conference that foreign language teachers have in the country. So they are going to represent us. It's in New Orleans this year. And then leaving today, I think Claudia left today, and then leaving on Saturday, we were invited to a ZFA workshop in Chicago with our friend Fabrice Liesegang. Katrin is trained to do the DSD. We're getting Kevin also trained to do that. Kevin Eberhard trained to do that, and Claudia is next in line to do that training. So we're heading down to a workshop there on Saturday. There's our big group picture. This is the last day. The kids are wearing their tie-dyed shirts. That is our whole group. There's no better picture of German immersion excellence than that one. Yeah, yay. The next slide, if you're not up to date on what they did, there's a couple of excursions and highlights. Capitol Building, they went to Central, Fort Snelling for the first time. The Hmong Market we go to usually every year, and the kids love it. It's often the Germans' favorite thing. They can walk around by themselves, buy tasty, delicious things. Yeah, and so that was a highlight. And then what was really great this year is Claudia did a good job of making sure that the German exchange students were a big part of the rest of the school. And so these are just some push-in moments of the kids interacting with the elementary kids. So every class had a couple of kids just to hang out and
I can attest to that. My girls were very excited having new friends that came in and read books to them.
Yeah, pretty cute. Pretty cute. They also come and tell us about their community, getting our kids ready for the community that they will visit. So this is the left picture is them giving those presentations. So always happy to bring more native German speakers to our school. Supporting the whole child. October is a big month in education. It's anti-bullying month. We celebrated Unity Day on October 22nd by wearing orange. There were a lot of people wearing orange that day. Our fall assemblies for the elementary and middle school started, and so we had our first ones. Fall assembly for elementary school is so cute. They sing that fall song, and it's adorable. And then the middle school was introducing our GAP students to the whole middle school, which is really fun. They get to see what's, maybe going to happen to them. And we start that process of having them see the fun things and getting their minds thinking about it. Catherine is prepping the bullying survey that we'll do for the third year in a row now. So we're getting some pretty good historical data on that. We know from that data, for example, that this year's 8th grade is a class that we really have our eye on. Because that was the class that reported sort of the most concern when it came to bullying. The kindergarten went to the apple orchard, which I believe is 2 words. Although in Stella
Probably not in German.
Probably not. Great joke. And the fourth graders are in Osprey Wilds today. They left yesterday, was it?
Mhm.
Gosh, this week is going fast. And they'll be back tomorrow. So that's the second year now that we are doing that fourth grade excursion. We're really placing emphasis then on the fourth grade experience, the sixth grade experience to Valtse, getting everybody ready for the ability to participate in the eighth grade exchange. So building the ability to stay away from home, away from parents, sleeping somewhere other than your own bed. I'm really excited when we get the first group of Osprey Wild kids as eighth graders, how prepared they're gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, we're gonna switch it over then to the MCA data presentation. This is both in the director's report and also a little bit ancillary. Every year, Esther puts together a good data production for both our staff. They choose their PLC goals from it. We put this data together for the Curriculum Advisory Committee, which happened this week. Director Sutton was there so that our community can choose our CACR goals, which stands for civic readiness,
Civic achievement.
and
Comprehensive achievement and civic readiness.
Comprehend-
CACR, yeah.
We're getting used to that acronym. It used to be
Yeah.
World's Best Workforce. Esther's getting used to it faster than I am. So I'm gonna turn it over to her and then I'll just pop in. If there are questions, you can address, to them both, to both of us. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. All right. So just for some context, we take math and reading MCAs every spring, 3rd through 8th grade. Our science MCAs are taken each spring by 5th and 8th grade. And the academic standards are revised every 10 years. So this past spring was the first time that the new science MCA, the MCA4, has existed. So we have to keep that in mind when we look at the data, that the comparison between previous tests and this test, it's apples and oranges. I mean, they're science assessments, but they're not assessing the same standards, so we shouldn't expect, same outcome. Okay, next slide. So last year when we had this presentation, we were talking a lot about math, and I wanted to start with some of the things that we've been doing to start with math. And then I'll go through the math data, then reading, and then science. So last year we had 59 students served in ATSIS math throughout the school year. We did an IXL pilot for math in grades 3 through 5 for some more differentiation. IXL is some software that you can use to help. It's mapped to Minnesota standards, and for our students, it exposes them to a little bit more of the bilingual side of math instruction, because in the elementary school, their instruction in math is in German. So we investigated what other schools are doing for math, especially what other immersion schools are doing for math. We put curriculum money towards math curriculum alignment and summer work. We train teachers in IXL, and we researched post the mini pilot. We had as a school-wide goal for quality compensation program. That's a program where the teachers work together in professional learning community. So together, the school had a goal to improve scores on math MCA proficiency. And so every PLC tied into that. So had some kind of math goal, smaller PLC goals to lead into that. We explored other schools' math and curricula and programming, again, specifically also with a lens on immersion schools to see what they were doing.
Actually, the first one is I went to schools with high performing MCA scores and asked them what they were doing differently. And then that actually led me to our strategic plan. And then the other one was immersion schools. I went to a bunch of immersion schools and asked what they used.
Yeah. And then last year we had 3 6th grade math teachers, and we were able to schedule them at the same time so that we had one advanced cohort. We could differentiate the groupings a bit, which was really nice. This year we just had 2 cohorts, so we did not do that.
Do you have any readings from the IXL pilot?
Yes, IXL proved to be really good at expanding. I mean, you'll see some of it in the data that's coming, but for differentiation, the tool showed that it could really feed the high flyer much better. And our ATSIS team actually ended up also implementing IXL in a lot of their interventions. So
with any software, it's how you use the software that can really make a difference. Just throwing kids in front of the software and hoping that magic happens isn't really the answer. But to be able to use it as a tool specifically to identify a student's relative strengths and weaknesses was very successful. And being able to take a skill and differentiate up or down depending on that student was also really helpful. And also another piece of feedback, if you know Valerie Hartley, very charismatic. She would do these jams based on specific math assignments, and the students would get really excited. She played Bob Marley jam. So even just enthusiasm for the subject.
when-
Yeah, it's really engaging. But again, yes.
So is
Was
the pilot
successful.
continuing then, or are we moving into more
Great question,
permanent?
Director Lindner. IXL proved to be pretty expensive. They gave us a very low introductory rate because they knew we were going to love it and suck us in. And what we did was we committed to fifth grade for this year, for the whole year. So they've got it and they're working on it. Strategically chose that grade for a reason. We'll take a look at how the budget shakes out here. When we added that mini pilot last year, we added it strategically in front of the MCAs for 6 weeks, something like that.
Well, it was in February, so about 2 months, 2-3
Okay.
months.
Yeah.
Because we do the reading MCAs first.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's kind of our plan is if we would love to be able, our teachers are asking for it, we would love to be able to provide it. But as you're aware, we're not able to do everything within our budget.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, so we do have some new math standards that are going to be fully implemented in the school year 27-28. And as you can see, actually this spring, we have a new reading MCA. So it's our schedule of implementation of the new standards and then being assessed, of course, on the new standards that we're implementing. So our math MCAs, we're 50.3% proficient in the spring. And so that's meets and exceeds. And statewide was 45.2% proficient. You can go to the next one. Nearly 20% of students in grade 3rd through 8 scored exceeds in math, which was up from 8% in 2022. So we were able to get to really target some of that differentiation, but we still have plenty of work to do in partial meets and does not meets. So we are aware of that. We have an eye on that. And our, again, to be able to show our relative growth, I think it's always helpful not only just to see the scores, but to see percentage of students improving or maintaining achievement level. And so here you can see statewide, 55.9% of students were improving or maintaining achievement level relative to their grade. And then at TCGS, at 71.4% of students improving or maintaining achievement level relative to their grade. And that's up from 67% last year. So we saw tons of growth. That's something to really be proud of.
Do you have an
Continue.
idea? Because I mean, 4.4% jump, that's not a small change. Do we have any idea what contributed to that?
I mean, IXL, I think, was a piece of that. I don't think that we can definitively say that like one specific thing changed everything, but I do think that that was
We also
part of the equation.
The sixth
The
grade.
6th grade, changing up that 6th grade and being able to have differentiated math groups was really helpful. Those are practices that I think really benefited us.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then here you can compare how TCGIS did for each grade based on just some other schools. These other schools have percentages that fall within 5% free reduced percentages compared to us. Their percentages of within well, basically demographically very
Some of
similar.
their other categories that
Socioeconomic, SPED, just various demographic indicators. There are some differences. The second, the third one, Orono Elementary is not an immersion school. Leela does Spanish and Chinese. And then the other 2 elementary schools that we have up here do Spanish.
And where are those two Spanish schools located?
Park is in Spring Lake Park.
Okay.
The other one, Eagle Heights, I don't remember.
It's like a great question. I'm not quite sure.
Well, where I was going was just, I think, when our scores are good, it's helpful to show people who might be in a geographic area where we'd be a good fit.
Mhm.
And so coming from Spring Lake Park to here would be difficult,
Yeah.
right? So don't think we're gonna pull a lot of people, but
see.
but just, you know, thinking about the comparisons with St. Paul and Roseville
Mhm.
Mhm.
and that area might be information that's helpful in recruiting.
Good point.
Mhm.
We always compare ourselves to St. Paul Public. It's just not on this one.
Yeah.
There are 2 or 3 more schools that aren't contained here. We Danielle Miller and I are working on choosing those schools, and so you make a good point. This usually isn't something that's used for marketing and recruiting. It's more to compare ourselves to other schools that are like similar to
Yeah.
us to see how we're achieving.
Mhm.
And we used to use Yinghua, which I'm really encouraging us to not look at. It's just Chinese education is just so different than German immersion. But also we're kind of like our own little island, right? There is no other German immersion to compare to. Spanish immersion even has its own, you know, it's different. So I had to look up where Orono was.
Isn't it by
It's
Elk
not
River?
close.
Far west.
Yeah.
It's west of Wayzata.
But that is because our free and reduced lunch is so low at our school. I think it's a single number digit this year. And Orono is the only one that was really that close. So, but yeah, I totally hear you and we'll continue to tweak, but please know that this isn't a marketing tool right here.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure, yeah, I just have a question, is if you, I'm noticing looking at the numbers for the other schools, they tend to have lower scores in the upper grades, and here we have higher scores in the upper grades. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you have any explanation for that.
We have a theory.
We have theories.
I have theories. And starting in 5th grade, our math instruction begins to be in English. Before that, it's in German. I don't know what the language allocation plans are per se of the other schools. But I would be curious about how much time they spend doing math in their target language versus English. That's just a curiosity. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, but
Maybe along those lines, I was curious about that, so I was gonna ask Director Zayt-Finning, when you did the benchmarking, right, when you were looking at schools with quote unquote high MCA scores, were any of those schools you benchmark Park or Eagle or and
No,
find out?
they were
what
not.
did?
I
No,
went to
okay.
Nova.
Okay,
Went to Nova.
okay, I was just curious because I was like, oh, maybe we'd find a little out, but yeah.
Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely something in like classical education is always considered very rigorous. And I wanted to learn what that meant. I wanted to learn what rigor meant. And my interpretation is we work really hard to do well on tests and we don't necessarily hit the whole child.
Mhm.
That was my definition of rigor, which is something that's important to us here at TCJS. So that's why we're kind of forging our own way. I do know that Leela has an English track as well. So not all of their students stay with Spanish and Chinese. They can decide to opt out of that.
Sure.
Yeah, I have lots of theories.
May I ask? I'm actually really not sure what the percentage numbers are.
oh, that's percent
Percentage of
proficient. So
proficiency.
that's meets and exceeds. Yeah, thank you. Mhm. Okay. So reading, oh, it says spring 2024, but it should be 2025. That's 71% proficient this past spring and meets and exceeds. And statewide, 49.6 were per proficient. And if you go on, our North Star academic progress at statewide, there were 66 or 60.6% of students were improving or maintaining achievement level relative to grade. And at TCJS, it was 77.9% of students either improving or maintaining achievement level relative to grade. So
Okay.
another,
Go ahead.
yeah, so a lot of growth we can be proud of.
Is this also third to eighth or?
Third
upper
through eighth,
grade?
yes, yes.
So even
Mhm.
third where they haven't,
Yeah.
yeah, they've had a lot of German to that point.
Yeah, they've only just started
Okay.
their English literacy, yeah.
Mhm. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that the number of, when our students take the MCAs in third grade year in the spring, they've had maybe 100 English literacy lessons. And so you see that number, 48% proficient. And, we're kind of used to seeing that, just being in the immersion space and all of this context. But if you notice how much that improves over the course of the year, you could take like a 3 to 5 year average and just see consistently, starting on the low end and more proficiency up through eighth grade, because they do within the first 2 years or so catch up. Like, look at that fifth grade, 80% proficient in fifth grade already. That's wonderful. So
What we notice is that Spanish immersion schools, which can sometimes be like almost a 50-50 mix of
Mhm.
native Spanish, Native American speakers, do usually start literacy in kindergarten. Obviously, their third grade scores at Park Spanish and Eagle Heights, yeah,
Mhm.
are better than our 48% because their kids have just started learning to read in English. But if you look at fifth grade, when they've had 3 years of English, it doesn't take them long to catch up. So we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at our third grade scores. The trade-off there is really sticking with German just a little bit longer for our kids and to get that solid foundation. And then when we add English, the language transfer takes a couple years, but it kicks in.
Mhm. And you can see that illustrated pretty well between the Orono intermediate and then comparing that to CCJS. And you can see that already our fourth graders, caught up.
Not to say it's similar, but there's French immersion schools in the area, right? So I guess maybe curious what disqualifies some of these French immersion schools from being considered.
The
Comparison,
hardest thing with
yeah.
the French immersion school is that it's part of St. Paul Public, and so it's harder for us to extrapolate the data when we go to the report card site. But I think we can pull
There's
it.
one more, right? But
can-
it's
Pull it.
Mhm,
It's
it's,
that, in
the-
particular, the one you've been compared to in the past, their,
Mhm.
free and reduced is probably like at 60 or 70%.
Very
Their
different to
student of
ours.
color the demographics are not comparable.
that's the St. Paul
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one, I think, more towards St. Louis Park as well, or am I misremembering as well? But anyway, we haven't compared to them in the past, and the one in St. Paul is not an accurate comp.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you go 2 slides back? So I'm looking at the 2025
Mhm.
bar. The dark blue that exceeds is about the same, but the meets has a definitely bigger body, which to me is like a pretty significant growth of a couple percent. Do we have any idea what we did?
We did a lot of fluency and comprehension practice. There was weekly, a lot of McCall's crabs, just fluency and comprehension practice routinely. We're
What does
working
that
really hard
mean
in
in
that phase.
practicality? For those of us who don't.
It's
work
the name
in
of
school.
it's the name of a fluency and comprehension curriculum
Mhm.
that is
For example,
Little older school.
Freckle might be more familiar to folks. It's a specific strategies with sets of texts that the students do have routines with reading and then rereading and improving upon their times.
And then do they
And
have to
then
get quiz on what they
comprehension.
understand?
Mhm,
and stuff?
exactly.
Okay,
Exactly. So
Okay.
more deliberate time spent in that space.
sure.
Yeah, we've worked really hard. Thanks for noticing.
And are we continuing this, I assume?
Yes.
we are
Mhm.
continuing and actually taking it to the next level.
We are, because it used to be very much like it kind of started in the tier 2 sort of spot. I would even say back around the pandemic, and we've been pushing it in and into just tier 1 classroom, what we do. So yeah, we've been working hard there.
You called it freckle potentially, or that's one?
Freckle is another thing that that's being used. It's very similar. And so
Hopefully it's cheaper than that math software.
it is, it's much.
They are.
Much so. Mhm.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good job.
So these schools listed there, In terms of free or reduced usage percentage, are they comparable to TCJS?
Yeah, they're all under 15%.
And I guess Orono, okay, that's public. Are they all public?
They are. Private schools do not need to do the MCAs.
I know we push people to apply for free and reduced or whatnot, but do we believe our percentage or understanding is accurate actually?
Yes.
Or we do think it's accurate?
I
Okay.
believe we do. It's probably, we're probably missing a few kids now that we have free lunch
Yeah.
and there isn't as much motivation. But we do have some things in our system like reduced fees for field trips and things that are other motivators for families to fill out that paperwork. But yeah, I don't doubt that Minnesota is missing a ton of kids with the change. But I think we're probably pretty close.
Sure. Excuse me. Sorry, you can go on to science. Oh, actually, I talked about this already, but I can
Yeah.
just mention again that if you look, just like, because every cohort, you know, you can have a cohort that's really strong and then a cohort that's kind of weak. So whenever you want to look at the data, you kind of want to get a sense on average over time. And we do see that pattern over time where our third graders start out on the low side and they just make that growth. And by sixth grade, it's really, they've really caught up as far as literacy and reading.
Is it
Mhm.
so, there's research that supports
Mhm.
this. Is it possible to take that to MDE and say, give us a handicap?
Oh, that's really funny because we did, and then they said they made some things harder. There's also a focus group that
Yeah.
Esther volunteered to be on that is kind of looking at some of those things right now because they're good questions.
So with the READ Act, the first part of the READ Act has come out, but now, there's a lot that's changing. And what MDE is working on right now by January is to create a committee for dual language, like a committee to actually look at some of the things that are difficult, specifically in the dual language space, about literacy development and making sure that we're helping students who need extra help or support and that we're all meeting reading benchmarks. And so I look forward to that work and that guidance coming out. In the meantime, there is kind of this space where we exist and it can be tricky sometimes.
Alternatively, can we ask to get an exemption for third grade, for example?
An exemption from the MCA.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
if we
don't
need
think
an
that-
exemption. I think what's important is that we communicate with families as to what that number means and why it might be lower than other schools or than what you were thinking. Yeah, that communication.
Because that exists also whenever we do our screening, our FastBridge it's a national software for screening. And if you look at our students as national percentiles, especially in first and second grade, where they're learning that a U makes the sound ooh, because that's what it does in German.
Mhm.
I mean, there is a big mismatch between the local percentile and the national percentile. So we have a lot of data to back this up, but even that we need that data still, even though that we know what that data says. And we need to use that data in order to know if we're serving students in the best way that we can. So I guess I actually believe that MDE needs that data too for federal funds. So even if they wanted to, exempt our third grade, I don't think that they could. But I also think that the data is still a baseline and it's still important to work from. And
I think I wonder I think I know where you're going with that, because if you're from outside this community and you're not exposed
Oh,
to things
yeah.
like this, you look at that, and you don't understand. Is that kind of where you're going?
That's exactly.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
like as far as publicity, yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
When they originally advertised, I do remember them kind of including some statistics on that
Mm.
and to consider that when applying. Because I remember reading that. So do we still do that?
We have a
We
one
do. We have
pager.
a really
You have a-
great text-heavy
Really-
infographic one pager that explains that. And we do talk about that at tours.
And we
but-
also handed out, we have kindergarten teachers, we have them handed out at conferences too. We just started that last year.
Yeah.
So it shows the data. It shows basically this on a graph. And every time we do screeners, we also include some of that research about you know, the context of our school, just to try to really help our families understand what's going on. And we're gonna need to do even more of that with some of the dyslexia screening that we'll be doing. Just based on what the subtests are and the implications in in an immersion environment. So there will be more parent
You're really-
education to
You're really
come.
nerding out right now.
I really am.
Yeah, good job.
Glad you're here, Esther.
I would think also that parents who are really concerned about scores would look like through the grade progression and not just, you know, the early.
Yeah,
levels.
hopefully.
I would hope, yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
kind of a assumption, I guess.
All right, any other questions for this slide?
Okay, so science. Sorry. We had 46.7 proficient in the spring, which is the new science MCA 4. And statewide, 26.2 students were proficient. You'll notice that the scores have different score categories. Advanced meets intermediate and beginning. So that's also something we can start getting used to as we exist more in the new standards space. And meets and advanced would be considered proficient, just to make sure that's clear.
Intermediate is worse than meets? I
Mhm.
would invert those in my natural brain, I guess, but that sounds like I would consider intermediate above meets, but apparently. Okay,
Mhm.
well, thanks for clarifying for the.
Yeah.
parents that-
Yeah.
I think it's important to kind of wrap your head around the idea that the eighth graders that took this test based on standards that they might not have been exposed to, lessons and objectives that they might have been exposed to. So that's why we look at this and we say, okay, good. And then we're gonna, move on to the next year.
Because
And
we
make sure
compare to
that,
the state too.
right.
Question about those ratings as well. Is that new for the new test, or is that gonna be the same difference in ratings when the new?
Yeah, when the new
I
MC math.
I have the same question actually, and I'm looking forward to finding out. I assume it's gonna be in the DAC training coming up.
We're
So-
making an assumption that it
The way
is.
science was, just because science.
Oh,
was,
no.
Or if that's like.
This is new. This is new. And
Yeah.
intermediate, it's like approaching standards and it's like, so.
They've
There's gonna
admitted the
still be a
word
lot of
doesn't meet, right? They've admitted,
Yeah.
they've admitted,
Beginning.
Well,
yeah, they've admitted anything negative.
And then you can see with our comparisons here, our fifth graders were 52% proficient and eighth was 42. Which I think is a really strong baseline to start from, given the new standards.
Interesting.
We have really strong middle school science teachers. One of them is sitting in front of us. And two others that aren't here, really, really dedicated women who know their craft and know their trade. Good job,
Well-
Katrin Gilhoff.
Good job, but also it's interesting because compared to those same schools where we were debating math for quite some time, science is now much more on par, so that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna dissect that, my brain for a little bit, but interesting.
Science is also, if you want to dig deeper, immersion schools choose which other subject they do in English and not in the target language. And so Jimeng, the Chinese school in St. Paul, they do science and English. So Leela does it in the target language as well. So our kids are taking a test in English based on an entire 9 years of science in German.
I was gonna say, I mean,
Yeah.
from Gilhoff is teaching science, I'm assuming it's in German.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. So that even says a little bit.
It speaks a lot, I think, to our teachers too, to be able to bridge that and have such an effective approach when they're teaching in German and they're delivering this. So that's impressively.
Mhm.
I will share as well, my kids who have been through middle school have come home just like knowing so much and liking science, so.
Mhm.
I second what Elizabeth said about the strength of the teaching in science, so.
Yeah.
At this
Kudos to Dr. Kat Sweeney and Eveline Stillwell and all the teachers that the kids had up to that point. That was our last slide. Are there overarching questions?
Was there any surprise?
I think we were
Well,
surprised at what the science was.
I was like
that-
holding, yeah, especially because those are the last results to trickle in. We didn't really get them until,
Not too long ago.
well into fall, exactly. So I was just kind of curious to see where we would land. So that's always surprising when you really know nothing, you know what you know theoretically about the test, but then in practice it can be something different. I was really proud of how many of the growth in the exceeds in math. I thought that was for me, I think, the takeaway I was happiest about.
Esther and I have been looking at math MCA scores for the last 6 years together.
Mhm.
And we looked at them after COVID too. And so I feel like we're getting there post-COVID. Like we're coming out of that mud. Little ways to go, but
What's the one thing that you're gonna change based on the results?
Just one?
Well,
You only get one.
you only get one. Well,
we've been using the same 5th grade math curriculum since I started. So it's been going on for 6 years, and we're gonna maybe look at that.
Mhm.
We have questions, we're curious. So I think that's one thing.
Mhm. Just getting on board and the new science standards coming out too. Making sure that we're doing now, making sure the professional development is in place so that we're on track to make good decisions about what we're doing curricularly for that. Mhm.
Does the MCs track like new curriculums as they come through in the decade, and then is that why they adjust the test?
Yeah, they'll be adjusted to the new standards. So already, yeah, it's an exciting
And then-
time to
and
be
you
looking
guys
at data
take it.
right now.
Okay.
Mhm.
I just want to add, just having sat through a lot of these kinds of presentations in schools I've worked in, just in that curriculum committee meeting the other day, I was just really impressed with the growth.
Mhm.
I don't usually see that in these kinds of presentations in schools I've worked in, so good job to everybody involved. Way to go.
Thank you.
We asked Director
Mhm.
Sutton to act surprised today.
Yeah.
because he's
Forgot.
Saw it already.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't the exact same presentation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it was different, but it was,
Yeah.
I mean, it stood out to me, just like in almost every area, and just not just the direction of growth, but like the amount above what your goal was
Mhm.
for that period of time. It's like, well, we way exceeded our goal, which tells me that when you set the goal,
Mhm.
like that's where you hoped to be and like went way beyond. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was
To continue to answer your question, maybe with one more point, is that, there's a lot of people that are not represented here that they are the ones that are doing this work. Esther is a good leader. But the PLC groups are focused around their own goal towards math too. So they're all choosing something to work on, whether it's vocabulary or multiplication tables, whatever it is. There's all these little kind of micro things happening, and all that comes together.
Yeah, kind of to that point too, we talk 3rd through 8th grade MCAs because that's, what we have as far as like accountability, et cetera, et cetera. But the work that is done in K through 2nd grade, also in those PLCs, also to strengthen math education of our kids, deserves a shout out.
Glad to hear it. Yeah,
Mhm.
good.
are there any other questions from the board members? Thank you, Director Tim. Thank you,
Noy.
Binoy. Very informative. Okay, moving on in our agenda. Agenda item number 6 is board actions. This month, we do not have any official board actions that we need to review or discuss, as we already voted on them in our special meeting on October 18th. Moving on to committee reports. First up, Finance and Facilities, Director Larson.
Yes, thank you. The Finance Committee met on October 7th, beginning of the month. The main purpose or the main conversation of the meeting was twofold. One was talking through the current status of the audit and the rebounding upward, as well as some information about the working budget. The big thing that we did we then talked about Finance Committee's charter, and we did approve it. And then we spent some time looking at the financial reports. We have several parents involved, and it was good to see the participation. And so that was good. I think I was trying to think if there were any additional updates that I needed to bring here because we've already looked at the audit since then. Chatted a bit about the budget. So are there any questions at this time?
Oh, we're just still on track with the rebonding process, right? That'll be in November.
We're supposed to be getting some updates soon. So we'll have more coming soon. But yeah.
We are still signing all of the things and providing all
Filling
the
out all-
reports and answering all the questions.
Yeah, are there any other questions from the directors? All right, thank you, Director Larson.
Thank you.
Moving on to governance and leadership development. We met Mondays ago and discussed policies 113 and 402, which will come to the board today. We also have a addition that we need to vote on for policy 509. So policy 509 is, if you recall from last month's meeting, is our enrollment policy. We do need to make an addition to that, which material did not change the policy. It's on page 28.
Thank you.
In the package. And in number 1, enrollment eligibility, we need to add the sentence, a charter school must give enrollment preference to Minnesota resident pupil over pupils that do not reside in Minnesota to be compliant with state statutes and authorizer requirements. So since we already voted on the enrollment policy last time, and this is the only material change, there is no rereading required in the governance committee. Further, we have policy 113, which is is that the procurement?
Mm-hmm.
Our procurement policy. There were some changes from Minnesota statute that Greg Kepler went through the policy and updated the needed items there. We adjusted it in the governance meeting to fit our needs with verbiage changes for superintendent to executive director and made it our own. But there aren't any material changes in terms of what powers the executive director has. The majority of the changes were around how to go about procurement for high value items, what procedures you need to do to jump through hoops with bids and RFPs and stuff. So at least that's, in my layman's terms, what changed, unless you have.
I would have the same layman terms.
Yeah. So materially, in terms of what we as a board allow Director Steenfenig as the ED to do has not changed. It's just an update in terms of tracking and making sure that the money that we get from the government is well spent. Okay. And then we have, what's the last one for?
Yes, we're not voting on those changes today, is that right? Or are we?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And then lastly, we have policy 402. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. That procurement policy is too long.
Disability non-discrimination policy. Page 54.
Here we go. Yeah, disability non-discrimination policy, I believe there was no update, if I remember
This is
that.
just a model policy that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's gone through the right channels.
Yeah, so that one has not changed as it essentially still pertains to Section 504 and the ADA, American with Disability Act. There was no change as far as we understand, so that policy is unchanged. We just need to reapprove it. All right. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to approve policy 509 with the addition of the sentence that we need for compliance, and also to approve policy 113 procurement and policy forward 2 non-discrimination.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Ankel. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Director Van der Bosch. Do we have discussion around or questions around those policies?
No, I think it's straightforward.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, discussion is closed. Moving to vote. All in favor of approving policy 509 as amended with the additional sentence and approving policy 113 and 402, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, policies are approved. Okay, moving on to fundraising committee, Director Tesfayesus.
So fundraising committee met on October 21st. We had Paige and Director Zampenik present. We discussed the charter, tried to finalize it, so we still have to. I'm not sure if we can vote on finalizing it locally or if it needs to come to the whole committee. We still have to go through that process. And then discuss on kicking off a few of the fall campaigns. The coin drive. There is an appeal for the annual fund that needs to be sent out. That will go in sync with St. Martin's Day fall campaign. And then working on the winter clothing, the winter clothes drive. And then we do have a few messages that will go out to a reminder the community, to remind the community that if, for example, they do donations to the TCGIS to find out if their employers can match to be able to maximize those donations. Yeah, things for the main point.
This is Paige's second year doing these things, and so she is proving to be really valuable through this. She's got everything all set to go. We're reaping the benefits of working hard last year, so we're able to maybe move on to other projects. We're working on a fundraising brochure. Good job, Paige.
So I mean, so we did have the fundraising meeting. It got clear that, you know, there was a list of to-dos, and then it was page. So it's I mean, you know, there is a fundraising committee, but she is really the engine. You know, was Director Zampenik.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Thank you. Okay, any questions to Director Tesfayesus? All right, thank you. Moving on, executive committee. We essentially talked about a lot of things that already have been surfaced, rebonding project, the audit that we voted on, talking about the board match for fundraising, and definitely our board retreat, which we held on October 18th. We had as our visitor Dr. Nathan Flansburgh, who gave us a very good introduction or lecture about board governance, what the school board should do and shouldn't do. And I think everybody was well educated that day around how a school board should work or function. And I know for myself, I have a lot of notes that we'll need to discuss further when we meet at our committee of the whole. Is there anything I'm missing? Looking at the other executive members.
No.
All right. With that being said, moving on to the next agenda item, which is liaison updates. Staff Council.
Yeah, I met with staff council on October 9th, and it's kind of a time of transition for them. Several members are ending their 2-year terms, so they're down to just a few people looking for, so they talked about recruiting new members, and acknowledge that's been a little tricky, so haven't checked in with them since, but they were going to work on that. Next meeting is in December 8th. So hopefully there are plenty of new members to join at the next meeting. But a few things they brought up were the need for volunteers, community volunteers, particularly native German speakers to come and read with younger students and things like that. They have very few confirmed volunteers at the time, so I think we're kind of brainstorming some ideas for that. They talked about inviting Elizabeth Zaimfenig to the next meeting to just talk about the framework of the staff council. Sounds like there's, maybe a need for clarification of like what's an HR concern, what's a union concern, what's a staff council concern, like just kind of clarifying what the purpose of the staff council is. So I guess stay tuned for that. And we'll look at that in December. They also talked about the kind of history of this, I don't know what they call it, but my notes, a staff satisfaction survey, just a way for staff to like reflect on and share information about their experience as staff at school, and express an interest in continuing something that gave them the opportunity to do that. But it sounds like in the past, the tool hasn't always met the need that existed. So I guess that's a work in progress, and maybe something else to talk about in December. That was the gist of it. So hopefully they're able to find some new members, and we'll continue next meeting.
Any questions for Director Sutton? Thank you for your report. Parent Council, Director Otterman.
The last parent council meeting was held on Monday, October 6th. They discussed improving communication with the school, within the school community, through clarifying the vision for the parent council, or for having an area that the community can access their charter. They also discussed the possibility of having a normal spot on the room brief where they can add updates, or potentially like frequently asked questions by parents that they could just have as a way to get helpful information out to the parent community and kind of give them an idea of what parent council is all about. For action items, they discussed formal fundraising options for the GAP program, in particular, the idea of the parent council forming a booster club. So that was something that had come up. It sounds like then they can take that money and like allocate it directly to the GAP program, whereas that isn't an option with the way they're fundraising now. They were also interested in a concession stand status still for the option of selling food during games. They understand that there is a volunteer status issue that they'd have to work out in order to clean up afterwards and kind of maintain the space. Otherwise, that was probably the most of it. The next meeting is Monday, November 3rd.
All right. Thank you, Director Alderman. Any questions for the director? All right, thank you. Academic updates. SEAC did not meet yet, right?
SEAC, yeah, it meets not monthly, so the next meeting is in January, and we met in September.
Okay.
And gave that update at the September meeting.
Yep. Academic
Like,
or curriculum, I should say.
Yeah,
Sorry.
everything was well explained by Esther Noy. They really just went over the data and the new tests that are rolling out. And well, I guess the additions that were not discussed as that part of that presentation were giving a survey to the members of the academic curriculum committee about like where to move forward with the goals in the future, because like I said earlier, they exceeded some of their existing goals. Those questions in a survey they presented to all of us about whether to update those, options of what the committee would like to do. So those results will be put together, I think, this week and shared back to me and the rest of the committee. So I'll bring them to our next committee of the whole meeting. But yeah, I think that was really it, just discussion about that data and where to go from here. So collecting that information. More to come.
Right, thank you. Any questions for Director Sutton? And I believe that's all academic because Director Alpers is not here, and I don't think we met on the calendar.
No.
Okay, so that is it. Moving on to the next agenda point, new business. Is there any new business to come before the board from any of the directors? Director Timpany, do you have anything that you would like to bring before the board?
I do not.
Okay, I do not have any new business. Hearing there is none, I now move to adjourn this October Twin Cities German Immersion School Board meeting at 7:57. Meeting adjourned.